and welcome to Monday Night Politics, sponsored by the Dallas Examiner. My name is Christy Thomas, and I'm a coordinator for tonight's event. Tonight, I want to give the candidates and the audience a few housekeeping guidelines to ensure that the forum moves smoothly, so we can provide a space that is safe and conducive to learn about each candidate and their platform. I will start with the candidates. Candidates, you will have 2 minutes for your opening and 1 minute for your closing statement. 2 minutes to answer questions from the moderator and the audience. Our guest timekeeper tonight is Anthony Marshall. He will provide a placard to inform you of the time you have left to answer any questions given. Candidates, this time should be spent talking about how you will implement your plan and your goals for the seat if you are elected. Your time should not be spent talking about your opponent and their shortfalls or issues. Please remain respectful throughout the forum and respect the space that has been donated to us for the purpose of educating our community on political candidates. Now to the audience. We are so thankful for your presence tonight. We ask that you formulate your question where it pertains to all of the candidates. You will be allowed 1 minute to ask your question, and only one question can be asked to allow for others to ask questions in the audience. Again, please be respectful to prevent from interruptions that could cause us to run out of time and not hear from each candidate listed to speak tonight. Any member of the audience should line up to my right, and you will be provided a microphone so that you can ask your question to the candidates. I want to thank you in advance for your cooperation and for your interest in being more informed about candidates running for office in your community. The Dallas Examiner has been presenting Monday Night Politics, Meet the Candidate, for over 17 years prior to major elections. I want to stress that all candidates are invited through email invitation. These candidates are pulled from the official ballot provided by the state. The Dallas Examiner does not endorse candidates. We could not do this alone. Our sponsors are nonprofit organizations, too many to name: All Black Sororities and Fraternities, the NAACP chapter, the Links, and the African American Museum. Our moderator tonight is Eric Wilson, who is no stranger to the political climate. His career in politics started when he was elected to the Dallas City Council in 2015, where he represented District 8. His tenure on council included serving as Deputy Mayor Pro Tem. Wilson's educational background includes a bachelor's degree in finance from the University of Texas at Arlington and an MBA from Aberdeen University. He remains committed to working and preserving the diverse landscape in his community of District 8 and addressing economic disparities within the community where he still resides. Please help me welcome him to the stage. Lastly, please silence your phones, and video recording is prohibited for this event. On behalf of Molly Belt and the Dallas Examiner, we would like to thank you again for attending Monday Night Politics, Meet the Candidate. Thank you.
All right, good evening. I think we need to update my bio to handyman, whatever's needed. So I want to say thank you all for coming out. Happy New Year, everyone. All right, just a quick bit of housekeeping. If you haven't been here before, the restrooms are straight down this hallway, right past the elevator, first floor. Okay? All right, before we get started, just want to reiterate a couple things to our candidates and to our audience that we do here at Monday Night Politics, and maybe a little bit different than most. Here, we're about educating the public about candidates. And let me speak first to our candidates. I'm about to call you up and have you come sit, and we'll get started. When you do come up, this X spot is where you will present to the audience. You'll take that microphone and speak to the audience. Oftentimes, candidates would like to speak to me. While I would love to see your smiling face, the audience would love to see it more. So speak and answer questions to the audience. Be mindful of that. Also, candidates, you want to talk about your candidacy. I want to hear about they don't make up their bed, they don't eat rice, whatever. I want to know about you. In the event that you begin to attack your opponent, your time will be cut short. Okay? So please focus on your candidacy. Audience members, you again, just reiterate, ask one question, not a compound question that's 3 or 4 levels deep. We don't need to know the War and Peace history behind it. Ask your question. In the event that you go wrong with your question, I will ask you, what is your question? To ask your question. In the event that you are consistent and rowdy, we'll ask you to leave. We don't want to do that. What we're known for at Monday Night Politics is having a quality event. What we don't remember are the outbursts because we don't have them. Okay? All hearts and minds clear?
Yes, sir.
All right. So we'll begin with our first set of candidates for U.S. Senate. And understand that we did make an attempt to reach out to every candidate that is listed. If they're not here, don't think that we didn't ask or didn't reach out to them for them to be here. All right, so first, for U.S. Senate, we have Jasmine Crockett, Ahmad Hassan. As you hear your name, Jasmine will be first, Ahmad will be second, and so forth. James Talarico, Emily Morgan, Michael Swanson, and Paula Williams. Any of those candidates here? And for those that are wondering, oftentimes for our more federal, national candidates, they will have a difficult time coming if their schedule permits. As we get more local, we'll get more participation in candidates. So we'll skip on to our next race, U.S. House Representative District 30. First, we have Reverend Dr. Frederick Douglass Haynes III, Rodney LaBruce, Barbara Mallory Caraway. One candidate. Don't worry about it. It's all you. It's all you. All right. So with that, you have a 2-minute opening, and then we'll go into asking questions.
And good evening. And first of all, I'd like to thank the Dallas Examiner and the sponsoring organizations for allowing space for all of us here this evening. I truly look out on the room and I see the legacy that's here. I see the work that has been done by so many for so many decades. Before I talk policy, I would like to ground the conversation where I come from. My mom was born in another city outside of Dallas, and she moved here at a very young age. And she dropped out of school, I believe, in 8th grade. And she did so in order to take care of a sick mom. Now, she did that, and she went on to raise 4 children as a single parent. And I looked out at what she did, and I never once remember seeing the lights turned off. I never once missed a meal. And through her work, the lessons that I've learned is one thing, above all. And it doesn't matter where you come from or where you start. Doesn't matter what resources you have. You just got to keep fighting. And that's what shapes my candidacy, is to keep fighting. There are a lot of people who are struggling in the district. Many times no on their own. But my encouragement is to just keep fighting. And that's what I'm going to do if I'm elected into Congress. Keep fighting for the district, not through slogans, not through charisma, but just keep fighting through commitment, through strategy. Thank you.
You're going to stand like I'm going to stand today. All right, for those of you who are in the balcony, if you want to ask a question, you get a chance to exercise and ask a question. But you have to come down here to ask your question. All right? Just to let you know. All right. So with that, I will ask a series of questions, and then I will turn it over to our audience. Now, we will ask questions in hopes that you have a question, and this audience looks very intelligent, very engaged. So while we're answering questions, I know that you have a question. So as you ponder in your mind the question that you want to ask, when we open it up to the audience, if you would step to my right or left, come to the mic, and you can ask your question. All right. So first question. What motivated you to run for U.S. House District 30, and what personal connections do you have to this community?
Thank you. That's an awesome question. I was born and raised in the community. I went to Justin F. Kemp High School, graduated there a long time ago. I served in the community as pastor. I served in the community through nonprofit organizations. I served in the community through different capacities. What motivated me to run was as while I was serving on one end of the spectrum, I noticed that the same things kept happening over and over. So I looked out and I saw that maybe we should take a different approach, speaking personally. So instead of acting on the service side, I wanted to move to the other service side and to impact somehow legislation. So my main motivator is to end poverty in District 30 once and for all. And once again, that's not a slogan, that's an actual commitment. And I believe that we overcomplicate certain things, and one of the things that I want to bring to Congress is simplicity. Because we overcomplicated things, we made things so difficult, more difficult than it actually necessarily needs to be. So as I enter this race, as I continue the race, I want to make sure everybody knows it's not as difficult as it seems if we have the people behind us and if we have people who are committed to actually doing the work.
Thank you. Thank you. And as you're committed to doing the work that you say for the district, this question, how will you ensure that District 30 receives its fair share of federal resources?
Thank you. And in order to end poverty, that's one major critical thing, is accountability. There are federal funds available, and one of the jobs of a representative is to make sure that those funds reach the people that are actually needing it. And at the top of the list, when I look to make things simple, that's the very heart of that's what's going to drive it, is by making sure that in the federal office there are coalitions, there are people single-minded and focused on doing the exact thing. So when I say I'm committed to the work, not just committed to going out and doing things for myself or whatever. I'm committed to the work. I want to make sure I see people every day who are struggling, and many of you may be struggling. I at times struggle. There are many people working paycheck to paycheck. There's no reason for that. So as a part of my commitment, a part of what I want to do is to make sure that not only members of Congress are active, but the community is active as well. Because it's going to take all of us in order to accomplish the goal of ending poverty. It's going to be legislative causes, it's going to be litigation involved, it's going to be grassroots efforts as far as education goes. So it's going to be a number of things that's going to have to come together in order to end poverty. When I say I'm committed to bringing all of those things together in order to get the things accomplished.
You'll read my next question. I appreciate that. Great lady. So, as you are making sure that District 30 receives the resources we need, thinking about the demographics of District 30, how will you ensure federal infrastructure dollars do not bypass historically Black and Latino neighborhoods?
Very important. Now, when we look at the demographics, of District 30. You have Black, Latino, you have the Asian, you have the Pacific Islanders, you have many different groups of people, all in District 30. Now, accountability is very important. You want to make sure that the funds go to the people that really need it. And in order to do that, you have to monitor what's going on in the neighborhoods. So you're going to have an active listening voice or an active listening ear on the neighborhoods that you're impacting. So that means that you're actively going to have to reach out to every community, not just one, not just two, but every single community gets to hear from me and me from them. So this two-way conversation is going to be very, very crucial in making sure the funds get to where it needs, because you're having a conversation with everybody involved. It's not just one or two communities, it's all communities that we represent.
All right. Now, at this time, we'd like to open it up to the audience. If you have a question, please step forward. Don't be shy.
Greetings, Mr. Eric said I'm trying to be very, very concise. How would you reach out to those who are eligible to vote, but due to lack of outreach, because they are a formerly incarcerated population, and this is a huge voting block? What is your strategy to reach out to them? This population is often overlooked, but we are locked out of the system. We are locked out of housing, we're locked out of jobs and economic power. What is your strategy? And I will give you an example. Zip code 75241, 2140, where in the state of Texas, they have more black males incarcerated from this stretch of South Oak Cliff than anywhere else. So that is a huge voting block when those brothers and sisters get out and they're eligible to vote because we're locked out. So what would be your strategy to address them, to get them to vote for you?
And that's thank you so much. That was a great question. Thank you. That's a very important group of people that have been overlooked, like you said. And I'm not sure if I can mention the nonprofit, but I have been working with a nonprofit that specifically deals with people who are re-entering society. And it's very important that we not forget that once you go in, you come out, you're not forgotten. And so many people, this is one of the reasons why I feel that we've lost ground in our elections, is because we overlook very important people. If we get to speaking to the people who we can help the most, I honestly believe that we'll change the game overnight. It's not easy, but it's necessary. But I am reaching out to organizations in order to make sure that that particular group especially is never forgotten. Because it is very important when we look at criminal justice system, when we look at the issues that are surrounding poverty in general. That's one of the things that is very critical, is to making sure that when people come back, they have access to jobs, they have access to homes, they have access to all of the things that everyone else does. They're not by themselves. But as a community, and I'm going to get back to community, because it takes a community to make the necessary changes. As a community, we all need to play a role in making sure that once a person re-enters the community, that their voice is not silenced, that they are heard from. So I want to make sure that myself is listening. I want to make sure that everyone in the room is listening, because none of us is not important. We're all important, and we all have a voice. And as long as a person feels that you're listening, I believe that they'll be more active when they go out to vote.
Just a quick follow-up on something you said. You said you wanted to reduce poverty in District 30. Can you give us some concrete examples of what you would do to do that?
Thank you. First of all, I don't want to reduce it. I don't want to manage it. I want to end it. So right now in the district, or as it was previously drawn, 16% of the district live under the poverty line. 14% is the state average. 12% is the national average. I want to get that down to 0. Now, how do you get that down to 0? You do it by not just making it a slogan, but you do it through commitment. And what's the commitment to? You do it by staying committed to making sure that everyone has the voice, everyone knows what you're trying to do. But it's more important than most important thing is not treating every issue like it's a standalone. Every issue is, it works together. And the problem with one of a problem with how I think that we govern is that we created laws, just like the tax code. It's this big, huge, thick book, and it got that way because someone thought it would be a good idea to add this and add that. Well, I think we've been addressing issues in silos. So when we have a strategy behind it, in order to attack one thing after the next, criminal justice, affordable housing, make sure that everyone can have a good health care. All of these things are important. You cannot fix one thing and think you're going to end poverty. It takes a multitude of things that has to be addressed. And it can't be done just through legislation. It's going to have to be done through litigation. It's going to have to be done through grassroots efforts of education in order to make sure that people are on board and you have the support for what you're trying to do.
I'll ask another question. This question is, if elected, there are 213 you're elected by Democrats. There's vacancies. So, with that being said, there are a lot of issues that are specific to District 30. Specific to District 30. Given that, how would you respond if the party's leadership priorities conflict with the needs of District 30?
How would I respond if the party's leadership differs from the needs of District 30? Well, anytime you're working with a group of people, and we all know this, you have to, you're not going to agree on everything, you're not going to have the same agenda, you're not going to have the same goals. But I was talking to someone a while back, and what I said was, in regards to a whole different subject about how truth is put out there. So many different people has their own version of truth, and I believe that nobody knows everything, nobody's perfect, but those who try to speak truth into the atmosphere, even though we may get some things wrong, overall, that truth is going to go out into the atmosphere. So when everyone has a opportunity to look at the whole picture, truth is out there. Now, when you look at how that relates to what goes on in Congress, there are so many different voices going on in Congress, and so many people trying to do different things. We have to find a way in Congress to find people who are committed to truth. Now, you're not going to have 435 people committed to truth. We all have different agendas. Some of us are trying to do different things. But there are a handful of people in Congress who are committed to the same things you are. All you got to do is just find a handful of people in Congress who are committed to the same things you are, and put that together and formulate a plan, formulate a strategy. And I keep mentioning the word strategy because strategy is vital. I think a lot of the times we go out and based on the news of the day, we try to make policy. Based on the news of the day, we try to make decisions. But strategy is critical. And when you have a handful of people committed with strategy, you can rule, you can change the world.
Questions? All right. Next question. 2025 was an interesting year in that there were effective projects that were implemented that nipped at and clawed back voting rights. The question is, what responsibility does a U.S. House representative member have in protecting voting access and civic participation?
I see government responsible for a couple of things, three. One is the government is responsible for making sure that people are safe, whether against domestic or foreign threats. Second, to make sure that the people, the things in society, in our country, are equitable. And the third responsibility for a representative is to bring federal dollars back to the community they serve. Now, the second key in that was the secure or the equitable part. Here recently, and we're not done yet, the Supreme Court still has to make decisions on a couple of things. Here recently, we have seen in the United States where we've kind of taken a step back. Every time we take a step forward, we take 2 steps back. And that means in voting rights as well. So we want to do a couple of things. As a member of Congress, it's very, very important that we keep our focus on where it needs to be. And that's the people we serve, because those are the ones that voted us in. Now, what you find is that there are, over the last, I'd say about 40 years or so, domestic production has increased about 70%. At the same time, wages have increased about 12%. Now, we're producing a whole lot, so that money is going somewhere. Where is it going? Corporations. Now, with corporations building a gap between us and them as far as wealth goes, with that gap also comes political influence. Now, as a member of Congress, we get invited to different things. We get funding from different sources. We want to make sure that our eyes are on the focus, or focusing on the things that are necessary. The people who put us in office, not the people who pay for the ads.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Recently, the city of McKinney, Texas, has outlawed homelessness. So, what would you do to keep such a pattern from starting in other cities?
Thank you. I had no idea of that. Now, dealing with local municipalities and even statewide, the way I see the office of United States Representative is that you're representing in a district, but you're also building relationships with people on the state level and the municipal level. That way, that when I talk about strategy, where you're working toward a single goal, you're using and cooperating with people who can actually help you get there. Rep cannot do it on its own. So when we look at issues like this, and of course I said I wasn't aware of that. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. When you look at issues like that, those are the results of inactivity, I believe, in coalition building, in building relationships along different levels of government. The silo thing that I talked about before not only involves issues, but it involves officials as well. It involves offices as well. If we all work together to accomplish these things, we can get it done. You can't do it by yourself. One person can't do it by themselves. One office can't do it. We have to work together with commitment and strategy, and things like that wouldn't happen.
Your closing, sir.
I'm brand new, and I'm here tonight standing in front of my family, in front of my friends. Most importantly, I'm standing for you. I have made several promises, one of which is the most important: the end poverty in District 30 once and for all. And that's going to be done. That's one of my non-negotiable goals. I have inspirational goals, I have non-negotiable. This is a non-negotiable. And I'm doing this through commitment and strategy. I can't say that enough. Commitment and strategy to the work, to the people. I grew up in Dallas, love Dallas, suburbs as well. And I'm here for the people involved. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, so you all are warming up on questions, right? Got it, I see it coming. All right, so moving right along. Oh, and by the way, hi, how you doing? I know you were up there, you may have a question. You're more than welcome to come down and ask your question. Like I said, you get a little exercise tonight, but we all can do some. So, all right. Next, moving right along to our next candidates for U.S. House District 33. As I read your name, please be seated. First name, Colin Allred. Zishan Allred. Make sure I got that correct. I want to make sure I get it right. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'm just going by what was given to me. I'm sorry. I thought that was fine. Yeah, okay. All right. Julie Johnson and Carlos Quintanilla. Gentlemen, we'll start with Honorary. You have 2-minute opening.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
What's your turn now?
Okay, is it on now? I got the baritone down. Good evening. How are you doing? Thank y'all for coming out. Listen, I'm Colin Allred, and I'm so happy to be here with you tonight. And I want to just begin by saying that to me, I had planned on being in the earlier list of running for Senate. But, when my good friend Jasmine Crockett called me and told me what she was planning on doing, I thought about how I could best serve this state and our community. I've always been about service. After my NFL career was over, I became a voting rights lawyer, working to help folks vote here in Texas and around the country. I served in President Obama's administration at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, working on access to fair housing, affordable housing. When I finished that, I ran for Congress in a Republican held district here to try to make sure that we could have a representative who would actually represent us. Won that seat, had tough re-elections. And I felt like we needed to have somebody who could step up into this newly drawn seat, who could be a strong voice for us. This seat should not exist. This is a racial gerrymander. Let's be very clear. That's not my opinion, that's the opinion of a 3-judge panel that wrote an opinion with a Trump-appointed judge who said this was a racial gerrymander. It was intended to take away power from black and brown communities. That's what this seat was intended to do. But since this is the situation that we're in, we have to have a strong voice who will serve all of us in it. I was actually born and raised in this district. I know this community. I brought $135 million in my time in Congress to this district even before I represented it. And I know what we have to do now. Because everywhere I've gone around our state, I've heard the same thing from folks who feel like they're working harder and harder and they can't get ahead. And I know that personally, that's my story too. So thank you for your time. I look forward to answering your questions.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. There's some energy. Thank you. My name is Zishan Hafiz, and I'm not a career politician. I'm a father, a coach, an attorney, a community organizer, and an entrepreneur. I'm running for Congress, Texas' 33rd Congressional District, the one that I live in, and I've lived in for very long, and the race that I've been running for a very long time, to represent you, the people of one of the most diverse districts in the entire nation. Before I ran for office, I had been committed to justice. After 9/11, I was the only Muslim student at my college and one of only a few people of color, and it woke me up. As a college student, I helped found the Diversity and Gender Center, and then I worked with the NAACP to create Sarasota Openly Addresses Racism. At Georgetown Law, I was an active member of the Black Law Students Association. During my time getting my MBA from the University of Virginia, I was deeply involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, because silence was never an option for me. That commitment has carried through to my professional life. As an attorney, I've taken on pro bono work throughout my entire career to support people of color, navigating systems that were never built to serve them. At Microsoft and at Google, I helped lead diversity and inclusion efforts, attended and partnered with the National Black MBA Conference to improve diverse hiring, and held regular internal dialogues confronting discrimination head-on through employee research groups. I say this to be clear. I did not discover justice when I decided to run for Congress. This has been my life's work. I look forward to talking to you all tonight. I truly appreciate each and every one of you being out here to listen to us and become informed. Thank you.
Good evening. I've been here many times for my home.
Good evening. Woo. Loud and clear. I've been here many, many times. I have been very active in the black community. Many of you know me. I'm an activist. I'm not a congressman. I don't receive millions and millions of dollars from corporate America. I don't receive money from Microsoft or from APAC or from lobbyists or the military establishment. I receive my resources from Carlos Quintanilla. I have pretty much self-funded my campaign many years. And everybody believes, well, Carlos Quintanilla can't win because he's an activist. He doesn't have the money that my opponents have in their bank account. But the last time I ran
Keep it to yourself.
against an incumbent, that incumbent had to spend close to $800,000 to beat me. And he only beat me by 7,000 votes. In 2016, I won Dallas County I got 11,000 votes. I've been an activist with Black Lives Matter. I've been an activist on immigration. I created breakfast in the classroom where children from the Dallas Independent School District are eating breakfast every day because I put money out of my pocket to feed children. I ask you to look at the history of activism and what I have done in my community, and then decide who is going to be the strongest voice for the 33rd Congressional District in 2026. And I assure you that strongest and determined and productive voice is going to be that of Carlos Quintanilla, because you know him, you have marched with him, and you've been a part of his activism. Thank you very much.
All right, gentlemen, I know it's been about 50 minutes or so that last time I gave these instructions, they apply then and they apply now. Make sure your comments are directed towards your campaign, not towards your opponent. We're here to hear about you. Again, I don't care that they don't like Excel. What I do care about is what they think about the questions that we're going to ask. Make sure that you direct your questions to answer about your candidacy. Thank you
so much. This is also a good time to remind the audience that there is no video recording. Thank you.
All right. So with that being said, next question. Deshaun, I'm going to have to go there. I cannot get that last name. Hafiz. Okay, got it. Hafiz. All right.
We'll get it by the end of the night.
I will. I promise you. I promise we'll work together.
We'll work together.
With that, what are your top 3 issues you hear most often from residents in your district?
Well, I wouldn't say there's 3. And the reason why I'm running is because we need a true progressive to represent District 33. It is one of the bluest districts in the entire country. It's a crying shame that we've had establishment Democrats run this district in the past. I'm running on the issues that matter, starting with a living $20 minimum wage guaranteed to each and every American. I'm talking about universal health care, Medicare for all. I'm talking about free, quality public education from kindergarten all the way to the university level. That includes trade schools, colleges, and universities, because if it's public school, it should be free. You shouldn't have to choose between debt and paying for your education. Affordable housing by investing in millions and millions of affordable housing units across the country. Supporting a Green New Deal, because we need to have a sustainable future. Supporting raising Social Security benefits by at least $200 a month by raising the cap on Social Security. I'm talking about abolishing ICE, because we do not need an organization that has no oversight, kidnapping people of brown and black color off the streets. And because I have refused AIPAC and the pro-Israel lobby, I want to say that it's time to call it a genocide. What is happening in the Middle East is unacceptable. We must demand an end to sending billions and billions of our hard-earned tax dollars to commit atrocities abroad. And finally, representation is not just about the color of someone's skin. It is about whether they fully understand the issues that matter to the community. And the issues that matter are finally fighting for reparations for generations of injustice through housing grants, business development, and scholarships. I'm committed to repealing qualified immunity, the same Black Lives Matter. You have to do something when you actually need it. And I will fight predatory lending, rein in payday loans, invest in community banks, and support Black and brown businesses, repeal the Patriot Act, which disproportionately targets Black and brown communities without surveillance and due process. Thank you so much.
Yes. What are your top 3 issues you hear most often from residents in your district?
I'm unemployed. My child has a drug problem, and I can't afford my rent. That's what I hear. I don't hear about Washington, D.C. I don't hear about issues that are very far away from the realities of our community. I hear about we don't have a supermarket in South Dallas. We have ICE attacking our families. We have our children addicted to vaping and crack and methadone and crystal meth. And there's no training, there's no rehabilitation programs for them. My goal, my purpose of running is so that my grandchild can grow up to live in a community that is safe, free from drugs, where he has access to employment, vocational training, good education, a great community. I want to see Black businesses survive. I want economic development in the Black community. I want economic development in the Latino community. I want access to capital. I want banks to begin to loan money to Black and Latinos so that they can buy their homes and live with dignity and respect. That is what I want. And I will use my position as a congressman to try to get as much money, funds, and resources to make the reality and the dreams of Black and Latinos and others in our congressional district true and successful. I want them to be successful. I want them to live with peace. I want them to live with respect and with dignity. And that is what Carlos Quintanilla is all about. I'm going to go to Washington, D.C. I'm going to be a fighter, but I'm going to fight in Washington, D.C. to bring the resources of Black and Latinos to live with respect and dignity in the city, and that's my goal. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much for the question. I think we're going through an affordability crisis right now. And I know what that feels like, because I was raised by a single mother who was a public school teacher here in Dallas, a long time in DISD for 27 years. And we don't pay our teachers enough. And so we struggle. And I know what it's like to go to the grocery store and swipe your, in my case, my mom's teacher's credit union debit card, and have it decline and put something back. And everywhere I go around our community, I hear the same thing. That folks feel like they're working harder and harder for less. That they know that they're doing everything right. That they're working 1, 2, 3 jobs. That they're digging deep. But they feel like it's not getting them anywhere. And they see on TV folks who are openly corrupt, who are openly cutting corners, who are buying off influence, who are doing just fine. And that feeling that something is not right, I think we all have that implicit in our bones right now. This affordability crisis is also a corruption crisis. We have a president of the United States who is milking the country to make himself and his family richer. The people around him are involved in a big game to see how much they can all make out of this. It's a smash and grab job at our expense. And the last thing I'll just say is democracy. Because tomorrow is the anniversary of January 6th. And for us, it's the 5th anniversary. Every anniversary of January 6th, I take a moment to say a prayer, because I'm only here in front of you because of some brave police officers on that day who, with no support, decided to fight off a mob that tried to overturn a free and fair election in this country. When you're the only former NFL linebacker in the room and there's a mob attack on the Capitol, everybody looks to you and thinks, what are you going to do, Colin? And so I took off my jacket and texted my wife, who was 7 months pregnant, whatever happens, I love you. Because I was prepared to defend our Capitol that day. I will go back prepared to defend you against what they're doing now. Thank you so much.
This is your question. Yes. Yes. No. Good news. All right. Let's talk about something that's near and dear all to us all. Something that we deal with around about this time every year. Something that's equal to everybody, or is it? Taxes. What tax or economic policies would you prioritize to help working class families in District 30?
Well, the first thing we need to do,
33. Go ahead.
the first thing that we need to do is tax the rich. And we're gonna make sure that rich people who live in North Dallas, that live in Lake Highlands, that live in the California wealth of America, that they begin to pay their fair share of taxes. And we need to make sure that people have, senior citizens have tax breaks so that they can live comfortably. We need to eliminate any taxes on senior citizens. We need to provide a incentive to companies to increase the salaries to $22 per hour so that people can have more consumable, more expendable dollars. We need to basically create a new infrastructure within the Internal Revenue Service because they're taxing us and we're not getting any benefit in return. We need to protect immigrants. Immigrants spend $100 billion in taxes. They spend $68 billion to fund Social Security. And they spend $4 trillion in local economies throughout the United States, but they don't receive any money. They don't receive any benefits. And contrary to the belief that they are a burden on society, they are productive, constructive, tax-paying individuals who make this country great. And I'm going to make sure that they're included in relief when it comes to taxes. Thank you.
Well, you know, the tax code is actually a collection of our values. You can tell somebody, don't tell me what you value, show me what you spend your money on, and I'll tell you what you value. And you know, one of the best things that we did in my time in Congress was to double up the child tax credit. The child tax credit is one of the most impactful provisions in the entire tax code. You might not know it, but when we did that with the child tax credit, we reduced poverty in this country among children by half. In fact, the North Texas Food Bank told me they could track when those tax credit hit folks' bank accounts because they knew what was going on. What I've seen them do with the so-called Big Beautiful Bill is weaponize the tax code against working people. Let's be very clear. What they did was they cut taxes for the rich. And to try and pay for some of it, not all of it, because they put a $3 trillion hole in our deficit. They want to talk about being fiscally responsible. But to pay for some of it, they decided they're going to do that by taking away benefits for Medicaid, for food benefits, for SNAP benefits, for child care benefits. That's how they want to pay for it. It's wrong. I put out a plan for a more affordable Texas with a whole bunch of provisions that deal with the tax code of how we can make things easier for folks who are trying hard to get by. One of the main ones that it means a lot to me because my mom rented a house for 20 years in Dallas and sent me to what she thought it was good public schools, is to help first-time home buyers buy a home. My mom, as I said, was a full-time teacher. She was also taking on a second job, but she could not buy that house that she rented for 20 years until I was in the NFL, until I could help her with the down payment. Through the tax code, we can make sure the first-time home buyers get a bonus so they can get over that first hurdle and be able to pay for that. My wife and I have two boys who are 4 and 6. I'm telling you, child care is out of control. It's too expensive. And many families are spending an inordinate amount of their budget on their child care. We can count that at 8% of your income. We can do all these things when we have to have the bill. And that's what we have to have in our next representative. Thank you for the time.
So I think we have to go into the details here. There are a lot of ways that corporations and billionaires and the oligarchs have been avoiding paying their fair share in taxes, and that's because we know that Congress is owned mostly by the billionaires and the oligarchs, and that's the first thing we have to change. So there are a number of different policy provisions that I would pass. First off, we need to close corporate loopholes. That means ending offshore tax shelters, taxing Wall Street speculation, and lifting the cap on Social Security payments so that everyone is paying their fair share. I also am supporting a dedicated wealth tax of 1 to 3% on ultra-high net worth individuals. I also support a financial transaction tax. There are so many taxes that are being done on Wall Street speculation that would not hurt Wall Street at all. It would help our Americans because we could invest all that money into good schools, into paying for better Social Security benefits, into paying for affordable housing to make this country better. I also believe that we need to have a minimum corporate tax on book profits, an excess profit tax on corporations that reap windfall gains during crises. Look what happened during the pandemic or during wars. All these individual corporations make billions of dollars and then make them off of these crises. It's time for them to pay their fair share during this time. We also need a higher marginal income tax on ultra-high rich individuals. And we need to end preferential tax treatment for capital gains and carried interest. That is other ways that the wealthy have avoided paying their fair share. And finally, we need to have stronger estate taxes on extreme inheritances. I encourage you to go to my website, zshawnfortexas.com. It is one of the only websites you will find for a candidate running for office that details all of these policies. You can learn about where I stand on every issue, and I've outlined the details, because, my friends, the devil is in the details. Thank you.
I'd like to open it up for the audience for asking questions. And we had a great example. First question we had, succinct, very good job. So let's continue along that vein.
How y'all doing again? So listen to all three candidates. So I'm just gonna put it this way. Y'all use a lot of terms, working class people, which is good. Y'all use a lot of words like rich people. I'm not working class. I'm the people below that. So my vote counts. So I'm looking for a candidate that will come to the community, because a lot of the problems that you guys addressed, we suffer from them, but they start at the top. Okay, it's trickle down. What is your strategy to come to my community? And what Mr. Zishan said about housing, minimum wage, Medicare for all. How can you make someone like me, who has a plethora of people behind me, vote for you? And I don't want to hear run around, I don't want to hear over the hill, I want to hear specific answers to make me vote for you, to make me go out and tell all of those people behind me, this is the candidate for us. Because just like y'all have power, I have power. And what you need me. Because I'm the person who's gonna say, this brother right here, he's talking about Medicare for all. He's talking about child care. It has to be concrete, not over the head. You have to speak to me on my terms to make me vote for you. So that is what I want to know from all three candidates. When you come to my community, what can you give me concrete that's going to make me go out and get 50 of my friends? It's going to bring their other 50 friends to come and vote for you. Because the mothers who don't have child care, the mothers who are struggling to find housing, the mothers who are working dead-end jobs, they're the ones that you need. So I need to know what you're going to do for us. Because I'll bring my 50 friends if you have a strategy for us.
Okay. All right. You want to come stand next to me? I'm serious. No, that's fine. Come on in. It's okay. Okay, you're okay. No, I'm serious. It's fine with me. When you described this how I grew up, Lincoln, thank you, Miss Lincoln. I appreciate you. But you described this how I grew up. It's a single mother who, to be quite honest with you, couldn't come to an event like this. She didn't have 2 hours in the evening because she didn't have any child care, and she worked all day, and she was bone tired. And so I don't have to read about it. I lived it. I made my way through sports to pay for my college, to become an NFL linebacker. I was an NFL, earned enough so I could pay for my law school. When they got out of law school, I decided not to go get let me finish. Not to go get a job where I could make a whole bunch of money, but to become a voting rights lawyer. To work in, particularly this community here in Dallas. Helping people deal with, at that time, it was the passage of the voter ID bill that passed in 2014 that nobody knew how to comply with. Still in the state, going after the state, then serving in the Obama administration on housing, right? But in this campaign, what I wanted to do was not ask folks to come to me. I'm happy that y'all have come tonight, and I'm thankful that you're here. But I wanted to go to them. And so I've been going to grocery stores, to construction sites, to everywhere I can, to high school football games where I can go to working folks and talk to them about what's going on in their lives. And talk about what I know are the fixed costs that we can actually address and that I've actually worked on. I'm not just going to come up here and say we're going to give you everything. I don't think, most I grew up around don't think that that's possible. In fact, if you said that, they won't believe you. But what I do know is that we can put in place certain ladders of opportunity. But then it's up to you to take advantage of it. You have good education, access to good health care, to housing, to make sure you're not being discriminated against. That in those schools that your kids are going to, that they're actually being given the full range of options of what they can be and what they can pursue, not just a 4-year degree or something that's going to lead them down a path into hourly work. They get into a real career. That's been my life's work, and I look forward to doing it again.
Really thank you for that statement and that question. It's very important because I think the issue is that for too long our politicians speak in platitudes. We need to hear about real issues that people are actually going to do for helping these people. That means Medicare for all, universal health care, making health care free for everyone. Health care is one of the most important costs that are making our people poor. That means raising the minimum wage to a living wage of $20 an hour. It's not difficult. These are issues, these are policies that will change the way you live. Education, we talk about education. Why not sponsor legislation to make education free? Any public school should be free in this country. Why can't you say that? Why can't you say that you will fight for reparations for generations of injustice? There are ways we can do community banks, we can do investment, we can provide scholarships. Why haven't our representatives co-sponsor House Resolution 40 to get reparations? They say it's impossible. Well, there are people in Congress right now that are trying to pass reparations for this community. Why isn't it happening? It's because they'd rather talk in platitudes than talk about the issues that really matter. That means providing child care, investing in child care, so that single mothers can go and earn a dignified living for their family. People are not poor because they want to be poor. They need an opportunity. They need people to fight for them. That's why, in a district that Kamala Harris won by 32 points, we need bold progressives who are going to fight for the issues. Sister Olivia mentioned it. Why can't we talk about the issues? That's the problem. Our politicians are busy talking in platitudes and making stories about when they grew up. Why can't they talk about what they're going to do to actually make your life better? That's what we need. Thank you very much.
My sister, I'm not going to pander to you. I'm going to tell you what I've done and what needs to be done. In the Black and Latino community, if you go to Dallas County Jail, you'll see the majority of the individuals going to court are Black and Latino. You see them being adjudicated for petty crimes, for felony crimes, and other crimes. When they get out of their court processes and they pay their bonds and they try to get a job, they can't get a job. When they try to get an apartment, they can't get an apartment. When they try to create a business or start a business, they can't start a business. So I'm not going to talk to you about all these wonderful things. I'm going to talk to you about what we need to do. We need to be able to provide programs, vocational training programs for all those individuals that have felony convictions and misdemeanor convictions so that they can get employed. We need to provide a food establishment in South Texas, in South Dallas, so that people can go out and shop and buy food. We need to make sure that we ask the banks and investors and mortgage companies to begin to provide low-interest loans and access to a down payment so that you can buy your home or your mobile home. We need you to make sure that your children and in your neighborhood, they're not selling drugs, that they're not selling crystal meth, that they're not addicted to fentanyl, that they're not addicted to any kind of drug, but that they can be healthy and clean and safe and protected. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to pander to you and tell you all these wonderful things. I'm going to do it because I've done it. I've done it many times. Breakfast in the classroom. 250,000 children are eating breakfast because I said they need to be fed. On fentanyl, I fought against fentanyl. And I want you to tell your 50 friends, my sister, my friend, vote for Carlos Quintanilla. That's the best bet you're going to get. Thank you.
All right. So I'll ask a question while the audience regroups and prepares to ask a question. I'm glad you mentioned the idea about food and feeding children. I grew up in South Dallas, I grew up in Myers, and I remember during the summertime, one thing that was always a treat was when I got a chance to get that plate and that jungle juice. Remember jungle juice? Okay, date myself. That little thing of jungle juice. Recently, from a federal standpoint, we just had an individual to decide that children didn't need to eat for the summer. My question to you, if elected, what would you do to prevent that from happening again? And this goes to Hafiz. Did I get it? You got it. Got it. All right.
Making progress. So I think there needs to be a massive investment, not only in food for everyone. And we should not be living in the wealthiest nation in the entire world in modern history, and there are people that are going starving every single day. I want to respond to something that Carlos just said about pandering and coming up with issues. This is not pandering. Everything that I talked about today is on my website.
I'm sorry. You can't refer to your candidate.
My point in saying this is all the issues that I'm talking about, progressives all across the country, progressives like myself, are fighting for these issues. They're going to make America better. These issues are not things that I'm just saying to pander to one community or another. Go to zshinefortexas.com and you will see each of those issues outlined there in detail and how we can actually execute them. The only way we're going to do this is if we elect progressives all across the nation. We're going to fight food insecurity for families, food insecurity for kids. There are ways that we can actually solve this. There are grants the federal government used to give to make sure that every single kid could have a free lunch in this country. A lot of those grants have been cut back by the recent Republicans who have taken over our government. It's time to invest our money back into our people. It's time for us to find ways to find real solutions to food insecurity. But we're only going to find them if we make the proper investments and we elect the people that actually care about policies to change these problems. I think that these are really bad issues, that people every single day are going hungry in our district and all across the country. It's not just District 33. District 30, as you know, another issue of poverty. To his point on poverty, one other way that we can get people to have the ability to eat is by raising the minimum wage. It hasn't been raised in 17 years. I've been talking about a $20 living wage for so long. Why can't we have everyone here agree that they will fight for a $20 living wage? If that happens, you have enough money to afford food and everything else. Thank you so much.
Breakfast in the classroom. When I had children, and my son is right there, I would take them to school, And I had to go to Farmer's Branch because that's where his mother lived, and I lived in Oak Cliff. And he said, Dad, we gotta hurry up because we gotta have breakfast. And I would try to make it on time to get breakfast for my child so that they could have breakfast before they started school. But at that time, all the cafeterias were made for 140 children. So a lot of children went without breakfast, and they didn't eat. So they waited and waited and waited until they were able to get lunch, right? And then their energy levels increased. So I said, you know what? Kathy Presas, president of the school board of Brownsville Independent School District, said, hey, we got a program that we do. It's called Breakfast in the Classroom. I went to New York City, and I talked to Got Breakfast Foundation. And they said, let's fund a pilot program for breakfast in the classroom. And we funded a pilot program for breakfast in the classroom and did it in several schools, several principals. We invited them and talked to them about the importance of feeding and nutrition and health and why we wanted to create breakfast in the classroom. We invited teachers and principals to come out, and we funded it out of my pocket. And it was approved. And the superintendent says, yes, we're going to do breakfast in the classroom. And then I got a call from Irving, superintendent, and he said, we want to do breakfast in the classroom. And then Farmers Branch, and now 250,000 children eat breakfast every morning in the Dallas Independent School District. And that's what we need to do. We need to be creative. We need to take the steps necessary to provide the resources that our community needs, and that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to fight to make sure that we have the resources that our community needs. Thank you.
So when it comes to policies like dealing with food insecurity, it's good to want to do something about it. But you have to actually know how. You have to actually know how. Because before this last bill that they passed, we actually did put billions of dollars more into trying to deal with food insecurity. In fact, we wanted to make sure that kids could get fed over the summer. But the problem was that the program ran through the state. It went to the governor. Right, Ben? And the governor said, even though this is free money, and even though we know that kids are going hungry all summer, we're going to turn down those funds. When I go back to Congress, I won't allow that. Let me tell you how. Because I won't go through the governor. I'll go to the county. And I'll make sure the county itself gets the funding. Because I have the experience and I know what I'm doing. When you talk about work requirements, which is something that Republicans often put on to benefits that we're trying to extend to folks, I've seen how those work when I was at HUD. Work requirements seem like a good idea. You should be working if you're able-bodied. I agree. But if the way you prove it is so onerous and difficult that folks feel like they're just going to throw up their hands and not do it, then the benefit doesn't matter. I've worked on these issues. I know what it's going to take to actually deliver on this. Let me just finish by saying this. Every single kid in Dallas, every single kid in our state should never go hungry. I've worked and volunteered at the North Texas Food Bank for years. There is so much need. There are people who drive up in Lexuses to take food from those distributions. People who never thought they'd end up in that situation end up in that situation. But you know what? As a society, we can do something about this, but we have to know how, and I do.
I just moved into Dallas. I come from a border town. And I'm going to ask this question because as a mother that raised 3 boys, I left them in God's hands in prayer. There's a lot of fentanyl coming in. I left the border town. How would you guys try to stop everything that's coming in from Mexico? Okay? It's a serious problem. When a mother loses a child, it's painful. But let me tell you, I've read, and as a former board member in the community, elected 2 terms, and I helped plenty of mothers, plenty of children, and I'm asking this question because it's painful. How would you help with that problem that we have with drugs coming in through our border towns?
Well, the first thing I would do is not empower ICE, because ICE is definitely not protecting our community. But what we did was what we did with cheese heroin. If you remember cheese heroin, many years ago, children were dying from cheese heroin. And what did we do with cheese heroin? We basically attacked cheese heroin from different perspectives. We said you can't criminalize the child for being addicted to heroin. You need to have access to treatment programs so that they can be rehabilitated. We need to make sure that their parents are educated so that they know what are the symptoms and what is the drugs that their children are taking. And we need to be very aggressive with criminals, and we need to put them in jail. And one of the things that we were able to do is that we were able to criminalize and convince the district attorney to file murder charges against drug dealers who were selling cheese heroin to young children. We did the same thing just recently. We got the district attorney to file murder charges against the drug dealers that were selling fentanyl to children in Carrollton's Farmers Branch. So we need to provide a comprehensive plan that doesn't just include closing the borders. We need to make sure that we protect our borders, but we also need to make sure that our children are being educated and our families are being protected against drug dealers. And then when we have to go and declare war against drug dealers, we declare war against drug dealers. And not because we're going to go into Venezuela and kidnap the president and say he's a drug dealer. We need to make sure that we kidnap the drug dealers that are in our community and that are poisoning our children and killing our children and selling drugs on the corners of our streets. That's what we need to invest our resources. And thank you very much.
Thank you for your question. My family's from Brownsville, very tip of Texas. My grandfather was a customs officer in Brownsville. And the thing I can't stand when I hear people talk about border security is when they say, we're just going to criminalize everything on the border. We're going to send the National Guard there. We're going to put the Army there. But they do nothing and have no interest in actually scanning at the ports of entry the things that are coming into the country, because that's where it's coming in. It's not coming in by individuals. There's not enough people to literally be able to carry that much drugs. It's coming in at our ports of entry. And you know, the crazy thing is, and you'll probably know this, is that we have the technology to scan every single truck that comes through Laredo. Laredo is the busiest land port in our state. We can scan every single one. We could, but you have to put the money into it. And when Trump gets into office and talks about, I'm going to secure the border, they don't actually put that money into what would actually secure the border, which would be to do something like that and to say, let's buy more of these scanners so that we catch everything coming across, because that's not actually the interest. The interest is using it to scare people and pit people against each other. That's what they actually want to do. They don't want to actually solve the problem. And when you talk about how do we go after and disrupt these cartels and these programs that are part of bringing in was an incredibly lucrative business for them. We have to work with the Mexican government, with the Chinese government, with the places where these precursor chemicals are coming from, and also with the delivery institutions that will give you a pill press and the precursor elements that you need so you can just make the fentanyl yourself in your backyard. But you can't go around the world doing what we just did, which is kidnapping a leader of a foreign country. I don't care how bad he was. It's illegal. It's against international law, and the Congress has to speak up too. So let's make sure we go after fentanyl. Let's not allow it to bleed into going after our own fundamental rights and due process.
Thank you for the question. There you go. Thank you so much for the question. I think there's three parts to this question that are very important. One is the need for technology. I think Colin mentioned the need for scanners. There are other high-tech capabilities that we can put at our borders. If we invest the money in technology, that is the first step to stopping fentanyl from coming in. Now, one thing that was mentioned earlier was the need to not empower ICE. Well, I think we can go one step further. We need to have congresspeople that are bold enough, that are courageous enough, to come up here and say it's time to abolish ICE. ICE needs to be abolished. It's plain and simple. All those people that are currently ICE enforcement agents could be repurposed to help fighting true issues like the drug war. Over 90% of the people that ICE is brutalizing right now are Americans. They're not criminals. A lot of them are citizens. They're beating up the average American, people that look like you and me, because you look like you and me. They have weaponized white supremacy. Let's repurpose those funds, those resources, into doing something that can actually solve a real problem that she has just brought to us, which is the drug problem in this country. The last thing that we need to talk about is the solution. It's not just about criminal enforcement. It's about rehabilitation. It's about helping these people who are struggling. They are struggling with addiction. It is solving the actual core. Where does the problem come from? It is the addiction to fentanyl. And we need to invest heavily in rehabilitating and solving that problem. Because if the problem goes away, if there's no demand, then it doesn't matter about the supply. Thank you so much.
Okay, so here's my question. I have heard you all address individual issues within the community. I need to know, what is your overall strategy? Because a part of your job is protecting us. Protect us from that foolishness coming out of the White House. I expect you to act as an umbrella over this district. What is your strategy to overall protect us?
I appreciate you. I think that's the right word. I ran for Congress in 2018 in a Republican health district because I thought that the guy who was representing us didn't reflect our community, but also because I was scared to death of what they were doing to the country. And I thought if we could get one chamber of Congress in the hands of folks who weren't insane, then we could hold them accountable and stop some of the worst things from happening in those last 2 years of that presidency. We impeached the guy twice. I voted for him. I was there on January 6th, as I said, when a mob tried to kill us because we were certifying the election to make sure that we got a new president in there. And right now, I see a president who is brutalizing the country and the Constitution. And I have spent my life committed to the idea that we can together perfect our union, that we can have leaders in place who can serve you with dignity and responsibility. You might not agree with everything, but that you would be able to get things done. And I'm telling you, I go back to Congress with your blessing if I do, with an attitude that I am ready to fight these people. And I don't mean literally, but what I do mean is that particularly when you're talking about some of what I consider to be the unconstitutional activities that are going on, I want to send a message to every federal agent who's involved in it. I want to be very clear to them. Donald Trump will not be president forever. We will keep a record of your violations of the law, and you will be held accountable. So you should make sure that in the conduct of whatever insane orders you get from this president, keep in mind that we're watching, and that I will be watching. If you come into my district and come after my people, that I'll be part about coming after you. You understand what I'm saying? You have to know how to do this, but I do. And I believe that we can get through these last 2 years of crisis, that we can get to another side. But to do it, we have to have strong fighters who know how to do it. And I do.
Thank you so much for that question. It's a very important issue. I think it starts with ending qualified immunity. Qualified immunity for so long has allowed police officers to act with no accountability. No accountability. Why hasn't Congress and why aren't establishment Democrats fighting to end this process of qualified immunity? If you are mistreated by anyone in America, if someone does wrong, if someone hurts you, If someone steals from you, if someone does anything, there is a legal system in place so that you can get your justice. However, if you're a police officer, you don't have that same mechanism of justice that exists for everyone else. And that needs to end right now. We need to elect people to Congress that will actually stand up for the American people and fight for policy changes that will make this country better. I have detailed my policy on ending qualified immunity on my website, zishanfortexas.com. I'd welcome you to visit there. But this is just one of the many problems. Black and brown communities obviously are being attacked by ICE. And I've already said it, I'll say it over and over again, it is time to abolish ICE. Okay? It is time for us to invest in solutions. Okay? It is time for us to stop allowing the empowerment of white supremacy. It is time for us to say those words, and when you say Black Lives Matter, actually do something about it. Okay? It is time for us to actually have people that are going to advocate for the right stances on all of these issues. So I will fight to end these injustices and hold people accountable, because that's what Congress is there. That's right.
We need to send two messages. We need to send a very powerful message to Governor Abbott. And we need to send a very powerful message to Senator Cornyn. And the way that we send that powerful message and we protect you is by making sure that every Democrat votes in the primaries and every Democrat votes in the general election to defeat these two individuals. We need to send a message to Greg Bovino, who's a criminal, who's a delinquent, who marches around in cities throughout America like if his shit don't stink. And we need to make sure that he gets a very clear message that when Donald Trump's tyranny is over, we're going to indict him. We're going to file criminal charges against him. We're going to file criminal charges against Greg Bovino and every member of ICE who violated the constitutional rights of immigrants in America. We're going to send a message to Kristi Noem that all the money that she has spent in intimidating and gangstering immigrants, we want her to pay it back. We're going to send a message to Donald Trump that when the Democrats take over Congress, the first act of business is going to be to impeach Donald Trump, to make sure that he learns his lesson, that he cannot take advantage and abuse our communities, Black, Latinos, or anyone else. And that's the message that we are going to send, because we're going to vote. And we're going to vote in massive numbers, and we're going to vote for Carlos Quintanilla because he's going to fight Trump like he's always been fighting Donald Trump.
And now we have a question from a young person on behalf of Monday Night Politics. We extend this gift to you.
Thank you. So my question is, U.S. Congresspeople obviously have a role to play in America's military activities by way of voting to declare war and approving military force and funding. And war is devastating, obviously. What is your stance on the current U.S. aggression against Venezuela, and would you support any new legislation that appropriates additional taxpayer money going towards military spending in the future?
That's a great question. I really thank you for asking that. First off, what is happening in Venezuela is illegal, okay? It is something that Donald Trump, one of the many reasons why he should be impeached, because he never received congressional approval to declare war, and there is no imminent threat from Venezuela to the United States. So absolutely, I oppose all war and all military action. In this scenario, in Donald Trump's office in the last year, our quote-unquote peace president has launched strikes on 9 different countries. 9 different countries. And he has not gotten congressional approval a single time. This is illegal. On top of that, Donald Trump and the establishment, both from the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, have sent billions and billions of our hard-earned tax dollars to conduct a genocide in Gaza. We need congresspeople that will be elected, that will stand up and say this is wrong. Okay, whether it's West Dallas or the West Bay? Injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. Who told us that? Who taught us that? That's right, Brother King. We need Congress people that are going to live by his moral compass. People with integrity, people of conscience, people that can see that millions of people could die if we continue to launch these wars. What happened in Iraq? What happened in Afghanistan? What happened every single time we try to launch a regime change or our own puppet mission to create a new country? Has it ever been successful? Look at entire history, it's never been successful. So I will be one of the most vocal opponents of any further aggression by Donald Trump or this administration, and I will hold them accountable by launching articles of impeachment for this and all of his other offenses. Thank you very much.
For the people of Venezuela. The people of Venezuela thought that they were going to be liberated. But instead of liberated, they got a dictator named Donald Trump. A dictator who has violated the Constitution of the United States, who has violated the rule of law, that has disrespected Congress, that has utilized enforcement agencies to brutalize our community. Donald Trump is a worse dictator than Maduro because he's going into Venezuela not for the people of Venezuela. He's going for 303 billion barrels of oil so that he can become wealthier and his friends can become wealthier, and we can never allow a president of the United States ever again to amass so much power and disregard Congress. And what we need in Congress is people with cojones, like we say, that aren't afraid to speak out, that aren't afraid to call out Donald Trump, that are not afraid to call out Greg Bovino and Kristi Noem and Hexen and all these criminals who have basically become the bullies of America. And so what we need is strong congressmen, individuals who have a history of fighting, a history of not being afraid to defend the community, a history of speaking out against injustice, and not with words or with information that we get from the internet, but from history of activism, from real work, from dedicating your life to fight for people who have been abused, offended, discriminated, and ignored. And that is what a congressman needs to do, and that is what Carlos Quintanilla has done for 24 years. And I'm going to continue to do that against Donald Trump.
This is a lawless presidency. And this was a lawless act. And this was more dangerous than I think most folks might initially think. It's not just about Maduro or the oil. Of course, those are precipitating factors. This is about a president who thinks that he's a dictator and that we don't have constitutional processes. He can just do whatever he wants. Right now, our tax dollars paid for this enormous buildup in the Caribbean. We have the most advanced aircraft carrier in the world sitting in the Caribbean as if that's where we need it, so that they could pull off this smash and grab job. And thank God none of our soldiers were injured or wounded in this ridiculous operation. They did not inform Congress ahead of time. They did not plan to seek congressional authorization. In fact, their loophole is that they're going to say they're going to charge him with criminal charges. And we'll see what the courts in New York do. But every dictator around the world just saw what he did. So Xi in China, who has wanted to invade Taiwan for decades, now can just say, hey, listen, Donald Trump just did it, I'll go do it. Putin in Russia has been conducting an illegal war in Ukraine. He invaded a sovereign country. He can say, well, Zelensky is a criminal. We're just going to go in and kill him. And have criminal charges. And something worse than just reputation or the issues of the moment is lost when the United States doesn't stand for the rule of law and values around the world. Because we're the only ones who uphold them. The whole world looks to us. I was on the Foreign Affairs Committee for 6 years. I can tell you the whole world looks to us. And when we do it, it ripples out. And so we have to use the power that Congress has, which is the purse. We have the power of the purse to make sure that we withdraw funding for actions like this. Thank you.
We will be going to 1 minute comments after he finishes.
Good evening, candidates. My question today is about environmentalism, specifically environmental justice within Black and brown communities. As you know, we're seeing a spur of data centers that are popping up across the United States that are utilizing our water tables, our water, pollution in our air, specifically the one in Memphis that is polluting, is bringing down lead and particulate matter within the community, exacerbating cancer and other things, specifically things that we struggle with in Black and brown communities. And it looks like they're building them specifically in our neighborhoods, around our neighborhoods. We have the same issue when it comes to pollutants in Jobby and West Dallas, areas in South Dallas. So when it comes to environmentalism, I want to know a little bit about what your policy is going to be when it comes to the transition to green energy, but specifically, what are we going to do to prepare our communities for the change of our climate, because it is changing. It was just like 85 degrees on Christmas. Makes no sense. But specifically how we're going to prep and prepare our communities and transition us into where we know that jobs are going to need to reflect this new world when it comes to our energy crisis and specifically climate change.
Well, we need to micromanage that.
And many times, environmental issues are local issues. We've seen the cement plant on Singleton, and we see the cement plant contaminating that neighborhood. And we have city council members supporting the continuation of businesses in our neighborhoods. We see politicians and former congressmen voting to eliminate clean water bill, voting against the clean water bill. How do you vote against a clean water bill when Flint, Michigan is being contaminated? How do you eliminate restrictions on OSHA so that companies can comply with environmental issues and concerns in their factories? So we have to be very diligent. We have to be very strong and say, you know what, we're going to protect the environment. We're going to make sure that we put pressure on local governments to respect environmental rules. We're going to make sure that OSHA laws are increased and that they're protected so that corporations cannot take advantage of the loopholes that Donald Trump wants to implement to allow them to contaminate and poison our community. We need to put strict restrictions on the contamination of water and find those corporations who are contaminating our water supply and who are affecting the lives of millions of Americans. We also need to make sure that we protect our water supply and that we negotiate from a position of strength with Mexico and others to say, hey, we need water, we need access to that water, and then we got to make sure that that water is not contaminated. And so it's a comprehensive plan that we have to develop, but we have to work with local government. We got to pressure that despot governor and make sure that it's across the board.
It's a disturbing trend to me that every time we're going to do some piece of infrastructure or some new production, that it's always done next to or near a Black and brown community. You go to Corpus Christi, there's a historically Black freedmen's town called Hillcrest. They decided that all of a sudden that they have to build a desalination plant right there. They can't build it in offshore. They have to build it right there. And they're going to spend, at this point, years going after these poor folks who are just basically trying to say, can you please build this somewhere else? And when it comes to the effects of it, we see that show up in higher cancer rates, in higher childhood emphysema and other issues dealing with the lungs, particularly in black and brown communities. And it happens so much that you almost feel like it just has to be targeted. But the truth is that what we have to do is have representatives who will call that out while it's happening and prevent it from happening, and then who, if it has happened, will work and know how to remediate it. And I've worked on this, and it's difficult. When you're trying to remove toxic chemicals from the ground in a housing institution, that's difficult. It takes time, it takes resources. But you have to have that, believe that that is important. And I do. And we pass legislation to try and help deal with taking lead pipes out from our homes, because particularly for black and brown communities, we see so many of our young people have been exposed to unacceptable levels of lead exposure. But your point is also right, that we have to have a broader view of how do we have a pro-environmental policy so that Texas can become the leader of the clean energy revolution that's coming. We're the #1 wind energy state, as you probably know. We're #2 in solar. But we should build on that and do even more. And make sure that, yes, we're an energy state, let's be the right kind of energy. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for that very important question. Our environment is our future. And too many of our politicians in Washington, D.C. have forgotten that. And they have horse-traded our future for their own personal gain, for corporations, for the billionaires. And I think that needs to stop. I'm proud to say that I'm the candidate that was endorsed by Citizens United Against Big Oil, as well as Track Oil Pack, because they recognize that I'm the one candidate that will fight for this environment. I'm the one candidate who is united to make sure that we will fight for a real Green New Deal. Go look up the voting record of everyone that's running in this race and their support for the Green New Deal. If you believe in a green future, not only for District 33, but for America, we need a Green New Deal that's going to invest billions and billions of dollars, not just in sustainable energy, but sustainable infrastructure, sustainable housing, sustainable everything, so we can build great green jobs that will power America's future. And it's only possible if we finally agree that it's time for a Green New Deal. Number 2, you talked about data centers. I spent the majority of my career working in big tech. I understand what needs to happen to actually regulate these data centers and prevent exactly what you described, the targeting of black and brown communities. Let's build data centers where it's easiest, because we think that black and brown communities are not going to stand up and speak up and fight for their rights. I will fight for your rights. I will make sure there's proper regulation on data centers, because I understand data centers. I've worked in that space in my entire career. And lastly, when it comes to environmental protection, it is a crying shame that this administration and the Republicans have done everything they can to gut the Environmental Protection Agency. I will do everything I can to bring the EPA back to where it's supposed to be, to hold these polluters responsible, because you're absolutely right. The climate is changing. As much as I'd like to be 85 degrees in Dallas in December, I'd rather be 85 degrees in Dallas in Miami, right?
All right. Woo, time flies when you're having fun. And I want to say thank you to our candidates. Great job of giving us your platform and telling us who you are and informing us about your candidacy. With that being said, as they prepare for their 1-minute closing, just know that we're here because the auditorium is currently under construction. I hear somebody clapping. It's under construction, so I've been told you will have Wi-Fi. All right, so temporarily, going forward, we will be here because they are in the midst of construction. So enjoy the Wi-Fi, enjoy the atmosphere. But when they're finished, it's promised to be great. So when that will be, we'll probably, when we have Monday Politics next time. So with that, we'll start with our 1-minute closing, and we'll begin with Eleanor.
I want to thank the Alexander and Molly. Thank you so much for doing this. I've been coming here for I think 7 years now, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate what y'all who've come out. I appreciate your interest in the issues. I appreciate my fellow candidates for their comments. Listen, this is not a normal time. It's not a normal election. What's happening in our country is incredibly dangerous. We're in that part of the book where a lot of folks don't want to turn to the next page. They just want to put it down and hope that things work out. I believe that the arc of the moral universe bends toward justice, but I also believe that it doesn't bend on its own. That we have to step up and be firefighters and go towards the crisis, go towards the problem. And that's what y'all are by coming here. I want to tell you, this is not just a normal district for me either. I know the folks in this area. I know Dallas. Dallas knows me. I've served honorably. I'm honored to serve you again. Thank you so much.
First of all, I want to give each and every one of you a round of applause for coming out here tonight and listening to the candidates. This is democracy at work. You guys are making it happen. It's very important. You took time out of your busy schedule to do this. I want to give my team a big round of applause. Can you give Jeff, Rosa, Julio, Adam, can you guys just stand up for a second? Really appreciate you guys and their hard work. Team, we have a choice tonight. You have seen a clear difference. There is one candidate on here that's going to fight for progressive values, that's going to fight for the issues that matter to this community and every community, that has real solutions prepared, who's never been in Congress and have the chance to do this, who's not a career politician, who's just going to be a fighter for you, who understands the policies, who's been successful in business and will take that success into Congress to fight for you every single day. So if you want to vote for someone who's going to fight for you, that understands the policy, that's going to fight for the policies that matter, and be a part of the progressive movement that's happening all across this country. It started with Zoran Mamdani in New York, and will continue with Zishan Hafiz in 2026. Thank you very much.
We're going through a transformational moment in America. I'm not going to tell you that I'm going to fight for you and say, vote for me, and I'm going to be the fighter that I've never been. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to fight for you because many of you in here have seen me fighting in Black Lives Matter, on the bridge, on immigration, on education, on police brutality, on justice. And I'm asking you to look at me. If you look at the money being raised, I have the less money. But I have the energy, the commitment, the determination, and I think I have a history of getting votes to win. And I'm asking you to look at us not by the money that we have or the technology or the staff that we have, but look at what we have done in our lifetime, what we have done for the past 10 years, and what we've been able to accomplish. Thank you very much. Thank everyone for being here. God bless you. Colin, thank you for coming because you are someone that had you appeared. Other congressmen never appeared. And we got to make sure that they know that Julie Johnson.
Stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there, stay there.
Come on, Eric.
Come back up, come back up. Come back up. All right. One thing that I want to make sure that these candidates get a chance to do, because right now, if your campaign manager is probably ready to strangle your neck. I know in the fog of war, a candidate often forgets to tell people how they can get in touch with them. Each one of these candidates did not tell you how to get in touch with them. So I want to give them the opportunity to give your website and how people can get in touch with you. That's all I want you to do. Oh, hold on. That's all I want you to do. That's all I want you to do. All right.
I thought I was going to be spanked. Well, anyway, my name is Carlos Quintanilla. You could go to quintanillaforcongress.com. I have my son Nicolas. I have my grandson Julian. I have Ana Cartagena. I have many, many people here. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you.
quintanillaforcongress.com.
I mentioned it a few times. I didn't want to mention it again. ZShunForTexas.com. My team is here. And I want to do this. If anyone wants to pull out their phone right now, my cell phone number is 813-892-8701. I will answer anyone's call. I will talk about any issues. I will not be hiding. I will always be available. That is my cell phone that I've had my entire life.
Thank you.
813-892-8701. Thank you.
And now, as we prepare for our last candidates, Texas House of Representatives District 100 candidates. Please be respectful of the candidates. All right. Again, we're here for Texas House Representative District 100. We have Amanda Richardson, Benton Jones, and just as they call him, he's not here. All right. So we'll begin with our 2-minute opening. Ms. Richardson, begin with you. That microphone.
Okay, it's working. I wanted to thank you guys for staying and listening to Benton and I our heart for and our dreams for District 100. My name is Amanda Richardson, and I am running to be in the Voice of Dallas. Centered on integrity, on service, on accountability, and on shared experiences in the community. I'm somebody that sees a need and steps in, even though I don't have a history of politics. I'm an accountant. That's weird. I know I don't look like you, but I have a heart to love every single person the way that Jesus taught us to love and to value our neighbor. And I believe that that's all inclusive. It's not rich, white, Republican. It is all inclusive. I grew up in Hawaii, and I fought to become the valedictorian at my high school in Hilo, Hawaii. And through that, I was able to get a full-rate scholarship to the University of Hawaii at Hilo. And in Hawaii, we live by what's called the Aloha Spirit. We live by the Aloha Spirit, where you love the person that's in front of you, no matter what they look like, who they love, who they pray to, you love. And hearing about the gerrymandering that's going on in this state, it makes my heart go. I didn't grow up in District 100, but my life is radically transformed. My church is housed in District 100, and now coming to Texas, I met Jesus. And because of that, District 100 will always have a place in my heart. I want to step up, I want to fight, I want to hear the issues that are on your heart, the affordability with homes, with our food, with Medicaid. I want to step in, I want to fight for, thank you. I want to be your voice, if you would allow me to. I'm looking forward to answering your questions. Thank you.
Hey, there we go. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for continuing to be here to have this conversation about House District 100. I am State Representative Benton Jones, and I've had the honor and privilege of representing House District 100 for the last 2 legislative sessions, and I'm coming before you to ask for a third time to continue to serve in the Texas House of Representatives. This role is important for me, not just to be able to serve. This role is important to me because I was born and raised in House District 100. This work in House District 100 is not just about occupying office, it's about being a part of change, and being a part of the change that your grandmother asked you to be about when she tells you to go get your education and bring it back home and do work in your neighborhood to be able to see a different neighborhood. And when I got my education, I knew that there was something that needed to be done in House District 100, because House District 100 was one of the few areas in the core of the city of Dallas where people's median incomes were still $40,000. House District 100 was a place that continued to face the highest health disparities, the highest areas of economic disparities impacting our community. Those are the things that I have worked on in the last 2 legislative sessions. I am someone who has fought for House District 100 when I left with Texas Democrats to lead the state of Texas to deny quorum to Republicans when they tried to steal 5 congressional seats to be able to steal elections like they're trying in the midterms right now. So I look forward to this conversation, and most importantly, I look forward to continuing to service the House District 100 and making sure that we get this done right. Thank you, everyone.
All right. This is just 2 of you all. This is going to go really quick in the answers, the questions, so just be prepared. All right, so this next question is, how do you personally define the needs of District 100? Jones?
So when I came to this very forum in 2023, I said the first thing that I was going to do was listen to my constituents and making sure that we had the organizational infrastructure to make sure we're responding to emails, to make sure we're responding to phone calls, to make sure we're having critical conversations with people as they bring their issues. So first and foremost, you have to have the infrastructure in place to be able to listen and engage. I have 20 years of running nonprofits and running businesses, and I have brought that experience to my legislative office to build my capacity to make sure we're getting the opinions and the input needed from House District 100 constituents. I have hosted legislative town halls. I have made sure that my staff is available to answer questions, and I will continue to engage and continue to build the infrastructure, because we know that when it comes to issues impacting state government, sometimes our community leaders are the most uninformed when it comes to what is going on at the state level. We see and engage every day with the city. We see what's happening at the federal level, or we watch on the news, but there's very little that we know about the 140 days it takes to be able to move legislation. It's very little that we know about the state agencies that are moving, and so that is what's important to me, to make sure that we have the infrastructure in place, because when people are educated, they will be engaged in the process in order to continue to protect our state and ultimately protect our democracy at this critical time.
So how do I define the needs of my district? I find three very important needs. Medicaid. Right now, as you all are aware, the credits for the Disability Act, they have expired. So many people are now trying to choose between, do I pay for healthcare or do I put groceries on the table? And as a single mom myself, I have struggled with that. I left a home of domestic violence, and I fought to keep food in the fridge. I had my power turned off. I stood in the food lines with my son, getting the food. I know what it's like to struggle. People should not have to worry about healthcare, basic human needs. It's unacceptable. As the richest country in the world right now, this is something that we should long have figured out. Housing right now, along with the idea of affordability, is housing is so expensive, and it can, for renters, the rent can to increase. For people in the Gen Z and my age, millennials, or for everybody, buying a home is more expensive. The average age of a home buyer is now in the 40s, whereas it used to be much younger many years ago. What I propose is to bring controlled rent into Dallas. Controlled rent. We bring laws to protect our tenants. We delay evictions. Right now, the evictions can happen immediately if you don't pay your rent. I want to propose to delay the evictions to allow our people to be able to come up with money to pay. Again, we're trying to scrounge food on our table for our families in this difficult financial environment. And this is something that I feel is very important. And the value of our voice. Your voice matters. Whether you're black, brown, blue, purple, it doesn't matter. Your voice matters. And that's something that the people of Texas have forgotten, especially those in Austin that felt it was okay to have your voice taken. Thank you.
Say that.
Listen.
All right. This question is yours. I told you to come back to it. All right. So what is your approach to improving the access to healthcare, people like me who need it, come on, and mental health services locally? Like, I'll read it again. What is your approach to improving access to healthcare and mental health services locally?
I think that we need to improve Medicaid drastically, and we need to improve Medicaid drastically. And the mental health right now, with the immigration that's going on, the children right now, they are going to school and they're terrified. Those that have family members, loved ones that are here in this country legally, they don't know if when they go to school, that that's the last time that they say goodbye to their loved one. And the decline in mental health of our children is absolutely devastating. These are our children. This is the next generation that come in behind us, whether we realize it or not. When we are older, we're going to need our younger generation to take care of us. And if we don't take care of them today, nurture them now, where are we going to be decades later when we need to depend on them? I propose that we bring in health, we bring in, just like we do with free lunch, that we bring in free mental services, have them available during the summers at public schools. It's not just a one-time thing, and I know there's a stigma against mental health, getting the mental care that you need. If you're sick, go to the doctor. If you need mental health services, go to the therapist. Thank you.
Yes, what is your approach to improving access to healthcare and mental health services locally?
Well, my platform has been about 4 things, and one of those has been expanding access to healthcare. And so I work directly with State Representative Tony Rhodes to make sure that we have a mental health hospital that is opening this year in Constitution. Took several legislative sessions to make sure that we had that, because that's important, because we need the mental health hospital beds for our youth. We need the mental health hospital beds to be able to deal with the overcrowding of our county jails, and so many things that are important. And so what I will do to continue to address mental health is making sure to be in the right places at the right time. And what does that mean for me? I'm a member of the Appropriations Committee that makes sure that we distribute the $331 billion that is in the Texas budget to make sure that we are implementing programs that work for our state. Also, when it comes to mental health, making sure that we're working to fund organizations that are providing critical mental health services like MetroCare and other places that are going to be within our community, and also expanding access to health care. I've also been a part of passing legislation this session to make sure that we're reducing the barriers that people have to getting qualified for health care, and making sure that we are addressing pre-authorization, which is one of the biggest interrupters of healthcare, making sure that we are able to engage with our healthcare providers. Those are the things that I'm going to continue to do, because we can have a lot of aspirations, but you have to be able to know how to work with 150 members of the House of Representatives, 31 senators, particularly the Lieutenant Governor, to be able to get legislation passed. I have been tested, and I have not only been a fighter, I have been someone to be able to get things done and bring resources back to not only the city of Dallas, but specifically the House District 100.
Told you come quick. All right. Typically in our society, the two most neglected and taken advantage of groups are youth and seniors. And this question is for our seniors. What is your approach to supporting seniors aging in place?
All right. So, seniors have an important place in my heart, and I'll tell you why. Anybody who's heard my story know that I was raised by my grandmother, who now lives with me and my fiance right now. And so senior care wasn't just an issue for me, it's something that is real, because not only do I have to navigate the responsibilities of making sure that economically I'm okay to take care of myself in my home, but also have that responsibility of taking care of a parent. Many people in this room know that struggle. And I think that first off, we have to make sure that there are economic opportunities to make sure that people living here that represents a younger generation like myself can be able to come back into places like House District 100 and continue to take care of their families. Most of the time when people lose their family homes, they lose their connection to a community and have to move to places like Little Elm, like Red Oak, and all those different places, taking them further and further outside of the core of the city of Dallas. When we talk specifically about our seniors, though, for the ones who are still taking care of their homes, because my grandmother came to live with us because she was taking care of a 4-story home in Oak Cliff by herself. So one thing we have to make sure that housing is affordable. And what I proposed the last 2 legislative sessions was a freeze on property tax for legacy homeowners. That means people who have been living in the district for at least 20 years to be able to freeze property taxes so that we do not continue to see the increases that are moving those individuals out of their homes and particularly harming seniors in a way that they have to be able to engage in reverse mortgages and ultimately lead to their generation losing their home, because when that person passes, they only have 90 days to figure out a plan, and they have to make sure their credit right and all of those things. So those are two solutions I think that are going to be critically important. And other than that, we have to continue to listen and engage our seniors. We cannot just come to the people in this room when it's time to ask for their vote. We have to do that work year round so that when we do go into the legislative session and we do that 140 days, we're having the needs of seniors at the forefront of our work.
Could you repeat the question, please?
Yes. What is your approach to supporting seniors aging in place?
One of the things I've loved about growing up in Hawaii is that we care about what we call the kupuna, which is our elderly. There's so much wisdom that we can learn from them. It's our ancestry, where we come from. They feed into who we are and who we become. One of the things that I've really taken on as a member, as a constituent of District 100 is in my church. I have grown really close to elderly, and I've grown from their wisdom. And it's something that I feel as we are all aging, that we can partner with younger generations. And so we can encourage others to learn from each other as a mentorship. I have a master's in accounting, and one of the things that I'm really big on is mentorship and helping others learn and grow, because we can always learn, we can always grow. And one of the things that is so special is the experience of the people that are older than us. There's so many stories, so many things that we can learn, experiences, hardships that maybe we might not have to go through if we just listen to them. And one of the beautiful
I would work to ban semiotic weapons. Also, I would work to have deeper background checks on before people purchase guns. Not just, like a quick rubber stamp, but actual thorough background checks, mental health checks. I would require a mental health determination from a psychologist before purchasing handguns. But ultimately, I think this is a heart issue. Honestly, I feel like we need to I feel like they need to learn other ways to resolve conflict. A lot of our kids, they feel like they could resort to gun violence to solve a problem, but we need to teach our younger generation that guns are not the answer, that's not the way to solve conflict. We can work together, we can learn so much from one another, even if we don't look like each other. We can love each other, we can resolve conflict in a healthy way, in a safe way, where everybody keeps their lives afterwards. Thank you.
So, this will be the last question for the evening, then we'll go to Good evening, candidates. One of my questions is for District 100 is, how are you going to be relatable for this district? District 100 has so many outsourced programs, but unfortunately, a lot of times the people that come in the neighborhood don't look like the people in the neighborhood, so a lot of people in the neighborhood don't participate. So even with like getting volunteers and stuff, like getting people that look like the people in the neighborhood. Another question is there any way that you would be able to get it all together? Well, it goes with that workforce.
So I know that I look white, but I also speak Spanish fluently. And so as a member of my church, I work on a volunteer team. And so what I do, I have worked on translating the English services into Spanish. I help to work with the visitors whenever they come. If they don't understand any English whatsoever, I go to work with them to help them understand and feel comfortable with where they're at. I think it's very important to know not just one language, but many languages. And that's something that I have tried to instill in my son, as an appreciation for people that don't look like you. You don't have to look like somebody to get them, to love them, to understand who they are. And that's how I've lived my considering running for office, and that's how I will live my life till the day I die.
So to address your question, first and foremost, you have to build the capacity to be able to have opportunities for individuals who reflect House District 100 to be able to operate in the legislative office. During my time in the Texas House of Representatives, I've created an internship program that brought in high school students from Townview, Magnet, to be able to work in legislative offices. Many of them have never had the opportunity to be able to work in legislative offices before. I'm working on right now instituting a multi-tiered internship program, not only for high school students, but also for college students, which I usually utilize during the legislative session, but not always in the interim. So building on that. And then also another tier that I want to look at is building senior internship programs so that people can come in and do work in the office. The district office that I have right now is actually right across the field in the visitor center here right at Fair Park. It is a 3,000 square foot office that I want to make sure that we're creating opportunities to be able to engage and grow the capacity of our community to be able to engage in legislative work. So often we just think that if we throw a black and brown face out there that they're going to know how to do that work. Who taught them how to do that? What family members was a lawyer or a doctor or an elected official? That wasn't in my story. And so I had to be able to learn how to do this work. For me, how did I build my capacity? I spent 10 years in Washington, D.C. learning how to do this work. I wanted to bring that experience back and bring that into my legislative experience so that we're making sure that we're hiring people who reflect the demographics of the community, and not only that, committing to raise their capacity to continue to be able to be involved in this work, because that's the only way we're going to change this narrative and make people actually care. Because the reason why people don't care right now is because the only time people come and engage them is when they're trying to run for office, versus the year-round engagement that is needed in order to continue to build capacity and do it in an earnest and do in an authentic way. And so that's what I'm going to continue to do serving in the Texas House of Representatives.
I know what it's like to struggle financially, to start over with nothing, to live through domestic violence, instability, fear, and to still get up the next morning because your child is watching and still depending on you. That lived experience didn't break me, it forged me. It's why I became an accountant, to understand systems that too often work against working families. It's why I lead teams, mentor young professionals, and fight for every dollar to be used wisely and fairly. And it's why I'm running not for power, not for recognition. This is not for my personal gain or my own agenda, but it's for you. It's for people who've been told far too long that your voice doesn't matter, especially because of the color of your skin. Right now, because of gerrymandering in Austin, the voices of Dallas, especially your voice, has been deliberately diluted and dismissed. This wasn't an accident, it was a choice. And I'm here to say we are done being silent. I know I don't look like everyone in District 100, but I love this district fiercely. And I believe deeply that your voice has value. Thank you. Amanda for Texas.com, and then Amanda for Dallas on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok. Thank you.
So I will be brief, not really. What I want to say is that going into my third term, I hope you know that I'm just as passionate when I started my first term in the Texas House of Representatives. The issues that I said I was going to work on, expanding access to healthcare, protecting our public schools, making sure that we prevent the displacement of our communities and fighting for equity and justice for all communities that are under attack right now. Those are things that I'm not only promising to you, those are things that I have delivered on, and I will continue to deliver on those issues. In just 2 legislative sessions, I've become the Vice Chair of Corrections, the Vice Chair of the LGBTQ caucus, the parliamentarian of the Texas Legislative Black Caucus, and also member of the appropriations committees. These are all intentional things that I have done to continue my service to House District 100 and what I will continue to do. And if I am not doing that work, hold me accountable. Engage me so that I can get better, because I know that this work cannot be done alone, and this takes a village. And so the last thing I would say, the only thing, if we really want legislation to be able to go through, we have to make sure that we vote, we have to get out of this midterm, and we have to change these elections, because what happens with these elections, what happens next. Thank you so much. And you can get in contact with me on any social media platform by going to Benton Jones TX. Thank you so much, and good night, everyone.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know, for our candidates, they say that too much of a good thing is bad for you. So we don't want to give you too much, because we want you to come back. We're going to be here 7 nights. For the next 7 nights, we're going to be here. 7 Monday nights, we're going to be here. 7 Monday nights, whoa. 7 Monday nights, we're going to be here. Also, beginning tomorrow, you'll be able to see tonight's video for the candidates and for those that are watching online. Thank you for being here. Thank you, audience, for being here. Thank you and good night.